You are listening to WLFR Pomona here on the campus of Stockton University. As always, you can find us online at www.wlfr.fm. And as promised, we are here right now with Greg Freeland. Did I pronounce that right, sir?
Yes, you did. Thank you, Mr. Tyler.
And we are here to talk about all things, I guess, sweet potatoes, yams, and what's the other word for sweet potato?
Well, the sweet plantain, they're not plantains, but sweet potato yams are from Africa. Sweet potatoes are from the Americas.
So this is one of the things, to me, that's like people from Mount Airy in Philly saying, I don't live in North Philly, I live in Mount Airy. It's all North Philly. Yeah. So I guess I'm wrong. There's a difference between yams and sweet potatoes.
Yeah, significant difference, although they look the same. You haven't had a yam pie at Thanksgiving, you have sweet potato pie. So they're very a little orangey. Yams are a little more brown. The nutritional impact of yams are a little bit different. But I kind of frame this as the I Am Harvest Festival, because Coastal Cousins Heritage Gardens, which is an organization, nonprofit I started 3 years ago.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was about to say, before we get into that, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
And then tell us about Cultural Cousins?
I would love to.
Please.
My name is Greg Freelon, Freelon. I'm the founder and executive director of aforementioned Coastal Cousins Heritage Gardens, Inc. I formed this nonprofit 3 years ago after a number of years working here in education as an administrator. I retired from Our Lady Star of the Sea there on California Avenue in Atlantic City, that school, as their fund development director. And while we were there in 2019, I helped the principal then establish a big garden on 8,100 square foot lot on the campus grounds of the school, which abuts Texas Avenue. So it's across all the parking lots, and we established 16 4x8 raised bed boxes, and we're working with students in connecting STEM and STEAM curricular activities with hands in the soil, learning how to grow your own food. Then came COVID, so everything shut down. And the next year we worked hard. We were the only school open in Atlantic City in the 2020-21 school year, and we reestablished that garden and got it up and running again with help from friends in the community and the surrounding areas. I retired in 2022, and in the couple of years that I was away, I started Coastal Cousins, and I noticed that the garden there had gone rogue, gone wild. Okay. And so I called the school. I said, "Liz, this is Greg. I'm doing garden work here in the city, and I was working with the Boys and Girls Club garden there, straightening those out in Chelsea and at the Drexel Avenue, Pennsylvania Avenue component. There's a nice garden there." And they said, "Yeah, we would love you to do that, Greg. It's we don't have any money." I said, "Well, all right, let's not worry about that." They
led with that. Let's never good when they lead with that.
Hey, as a nonprofit, you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah, don't worry about that. That's my background again in the final years of my career as an educator was in fund development and here in Atlantic County, Atlantic City. We raised a lot of money for that school, Our Lady Star of the Sea, in my tenure there during those COVID years to help keep the school open and growing and thriving." So I brought those skills, I brought my love of gardening and my background as an educator and a filmmaker to bear there. So I documented everything I did. The first year was me, myself, one garden, and no money, and start to build. But I made a documentary of that, a short documentary to show the children at the end of the summer. Here's what you did from March, February and March till now. This is all the work that you put in. And so they were thrilled. People watched the video. Wow, can you do this for us? Can you do this for us? So I went from that one garden to now we have 6 gardens. I went from
congratulations.
Depending on myself to get everything done, to summertime staff of 12
Okay.
and a fall-winter staff of 4, one of whom is sitting with me right now, Christian Lopez, a senior here at Stockton University.
Oh.
So he works with us. He's also a filmmaker. So that part of our work is something that Christian really leans into for us. But he can equally be out there with us weeding and planting and harvesting with the same energy that everybody else on our team does. So Coastal is now, we established a garden at Robinson Small Learning Center, which of course is on the grounds there of the New Hope Baptist Church
Okay.
in Ward 1 over on Baltic Avenue. And we were working with their pre-Ks, 3s and 4s this year. That's our newest garden. And I had 13 or 14 of those young people planted their seeds, watched them grow, measured them, took notes, came out to the garden. My team built 2 garden beds for them. We're going to add 2 this year. And we took the children through a process. So that was amazing. We have both
Okay.
Boys and Girls Club, Chelsea and Drexel this year. And then we had Our Lady Star of the Sea Garden. And then we added Indiana Avenue Garden. And so Brother Sylvester Shoel, who was
I know Brother Showell.
yeah,
Okay.
a mover and shaker. A year and a half ago, he met me at a big gardening meeting in Atlantic City, the Green Coalition, which is a really, really interesting group to be a part of. All about urban farming, urban gardening. How do we feed people? How do we get people invested in this in our city? And he said, well, why don't you come help us? And so this year we did. We worked hard with Sylvester and his team over there at the Indiana Avenue Firehouse 3 garden. We pulled all the things that have been out there for 6 years and invested in rebuilding that space. And it's just been a beautiful experience. We're send a shout out to Sylvester's soul. Sylvester passed away in August, and they had a service for him.
Wait, Sylvester passed away?
Yes, he did. Yeah, sadly, he got ill at the end of the growing season, and never recovered. So
I did not know that.
yeah. So we're remembering his spirit. I'll say this about Sylvester as someone who's just known him. He was well known throughout the community, and many people have known him since they grew up here, like you were referencing the mayor and your relationship back in the day. I've known him for 3 years, and as we built the new garden and moved all these things and moved tons of soil into new garden beds, Sylvester was wheelchair bound, but often you see him standing up doing work with the team and getting stuff done. I have a picture of him or video taking one of the trash bags full of weeds and stuff and dragging it with his wheelchair out to the curb. So he was an incredible human being, and we're going to miss him in the garden as we begin our work there again over the winter and next spring. So that's Coastal in a
Okay, all right.
nutshell.
I was about to say, I hate to interrupt you. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Light, powered by AtlanticCityFocus.com. We're here with Greg Freeland from Coastal Cousins and the I Am Festival, which is coming up Saturday, November
It is
1st.
Saturday, November 1st,
Okay.
11 to 3.
11 to 3, but I have a couple questions about some of the things that you already talked about. First of all, I keep saying I'm going to redo and reignite my father's garden. My father was a big gardener. I had no interest in it when he was alive other than wanting to do something with my father. You know, sort of a cats in the cradle type situation, if you remember that song.
I do.
And so, you know, how did you get into gardening? What prompted? Are you from Atlantic City? Because
I'm out of Philly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Philly. You still Philly. You know, not a big gardening town. Although what am I thinking of? The spring flower festival
great.
is always nice.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, I got into the spring flower festival because that was something my dad always wanted to
Yeah,
go
the
to.
Horticultural Society there in Philadelphia does that every year, the flower show.
Yeah.
And it's good. We're trying to find linkages to bring Atlantic City children over there with their expressions of what they plant and grow and take care of all year long.
Yeah.
So that's a work in progress.
Right.
However, yeah, I'm out of Philly,
And how'd you get in the garden?
Mount Airy.
Mount Airy. Wow. North Philly.
Germantown, Mount Airy.
Germantown.
Yeah, North Philly. Way north. So,
Here we go. Look. If I got to take the orange line to get there, it's North Philly.
so a city kid, essentially,
Right.
growing up there and playing rough and tumble football in the parks and all that kind of stuff. But my church sent me and another kid who was a church member to Alaska when I was 17. And
Wow.
I went to a small town in the middle of Alaska. There was no running water, no electricity. I lived in an old log cabin where you open up the trap door and it's permafrost under, so that was the refrigerator.
Wow.
So we carried our water from the Yukon River, but I learned how to hunt and fish and grow food
Okay.
that summer, and it was beautiful. It was smack dab in the middle of Alaska. It was like 75, 80 degrees every day.
Oh, really?
Pretty much for the 6 weeks I was there, and then
Okay.
it tailed off real quickly, as I got ready to go to college. But that ignited a kind of passion in me. It kind of changed my life, that particular experience. And so, moving fast forward to my career in New York as an educator, as a filmmaker, as a theater guy, I lived in an apartment building that had a gorgeous rooftop garden, and the garden committee were senior citizens, one of whom is a dear friend of mine, Miss Eleanor Jackson, who would drag me up there with her and teach me all about gardens. She was from South Carolina, so and there's a South Carolina connection with Coastal Cousins Heritage Gardens. So I got really interested more in that, and then when I came to Atlantic City in 2018, and started working in these schools. Gardens were a big thing, particularly community gardens. And I started that big garden with Carol Spina, the then principal of Our Lady Star of the Sea School, on that big lot in back, and it's now thriving. I mean, if you drive by there, you're like, wow. And so we have plans for that garden for this year. The school and I are working on transforming that garden into an interactive educational green space, with an opening for the community there in Chelsea or anyone else to come in for educational workshops, gardening workshops, hand and soil work. So that's our next 10 months will be redesigning that garden, redeveloping it, and there'll be pathways, there'll be QR code sheets for activities, there'll be exercise stations, like you can get on the Schuylkill River. If you're doing a jog, you can stop and do push-ups or sit-ups or run in place, that kind of thing. So we'll have that right there on that space. So we're designing that even as we speak on this show today.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Light. We're here with Greg Freeland. He'll be with us hopefully till 10 o'clock or so, discussing his life as a gardener, a filmmaker, and very soon we'll be talking about the I Am Festival that's coming up Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Here in Atlantic City. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about is the filmmaking process. And the reason why is because one of the reasons why, as a child, I lost interest in gardening very fast. I will say this, going back to second grade, I was kind of hyped to grow a garden and whatnot, but when my maters didn't come in 4 days, I was like, okay, this is taking way too long. I got other things to do. And that was before the internet. You know what I mean? Now, with the internet, kids want their food, they want their tomatoes up in 15 minutes, not 4 days. But I think if you can show them with well, let me ask you this, rather than make an assumption. Does the filmmaking process and them being able to see day one we plant, and even before we plant, like my dad used to get the almanac to see what was the best day to plant, and to see how the moon was situated and everything like that. So does engaging them in the filmmaking process over the time from planting to Harvest, does that make a difference in the way the kids approach it and their patience or lack of patience?
I think that, my experience in working with children these last 3 years in this lane is that they are vastly interested in the gardening process. My experience as a background as
So I was just a crummy kid then.
maybe, but you weren't exposed to a teacher or a facilitator who engaged you, who drew you in with highly interactive workshop sessions. I don't lecture. I don't stand there and talk at people. I don't let my team do that. My background in education is I'm certified as an IB teacher, International Baccalaureate, which is a private school system. I was on a small group of people who wrote charter for an IB school in Harlem, which is now one of the top performing schools, not only in Harlem or New York City, but in New York State. That's Global Community Charter School. And there we had to go through a rigorous process of understanding as teachers how to engage students. It's an inquiry-based form of education where it's almost like the beginning of every unit of lessons and activities is based around a concept or a theme. And at the beginning of the unit, you throw the students into the pool and have them experience what it is. And you're there with a pole to help guide them. And then you draw them back and start the process of really teaching them. So we do that. It's very hands-on. It's highly engaging. And I formulated our academic program to deeply align with Common Core standards, New Jersey student learning standards, here, Common Core standards in New York. And so everything we do is tinged with trying to help a student in terms of either language arts skills or mathematics skills. So for instance, I mentioned students as young as 3 and 4 years old are learning how to measure. So if they plant a seed, instead of getting antsy because it hasn't produced its tomatoes in 20 hours, is watching it in the next week, measuring how it's coming. It's a baby. It's coming. We got to take care of it. And then 2 weeks, it's like 2 inches. And how many leaves are there now? How many were there last week? So they're getting this process by doing it of understanding how to count. How many leaves are there? How many were there? How many do you think they're going to be? And we stimulate their interest in learning more about it by watching this happen. Then you take the seedlings, and now we're going to go outside because we built a garden for you guys, and we're going to gently put them in. Remember, they're still babies. And so they put them in, they come out every week, and they watch, and then we harvest and taste the foods. And we have partners who come and bring foods from farms outside of Atlantic City to gift to the community and to share with the students about where these foods came from, how they grew, how it relates to the experience that they've had growing everything this spring and summer and harvesting in the fall. So that's what we do. We try to be interesting. The film part of it is then at the end, sometimes they even participate in holding the cameras and doing some of the filming and photography themselves. My first year, that's what I was teaching. I would be holding the camera and trying to do the lesson. I'd just go to the kid next to me. Do you know how to do this? Yeah. All right, you film this while I teach. And so they actually participated in that part. At the end, we edit this together, Mr. Lopez and myself, and then we show it to them. And they're just mesmerized and have a great time reliving the process through the film making.
Well, I think 2 things are true. I think number one, maybe gardening just wasn't my thing. Number one, although I've had experiences of picking the tomato right off of the vine and eating it, and that's a great experience. And I'm happy because I think kids should be allowed to have that experience, even if I always say when I work with kids, taste spinach. You may not like it, but if you never taste it, you never know. There are people who like artichokes and they went their whole life saying they don't like artichokes until they tasted one. How do you know you don't like it if you never had one? So I think maybe part of it was I was a crummy kid. But what I like about you is you remind me of one of my favorite teachers, Mrs. Martin, and Shakespeare. Now I'm a writer, and 15-year-old Ray thought Shakespeare was overrated until I had Miss Martin, and the level of passion that she had for Shakespeare's work, and then to be able to explain that Julius Caesar wasn't necessarily about somebody who wanted to be king of Rome.
Right.
It was more about there's somebody on your block right now who's a dog catcher, and he's a great dog catcher, but there's somebody else who's watching him like, he thinks he's special just because he catches dogs. And so, like, she was able to make Shakespeare and Julius Caesar relatable to an everyday life to a kid who was 15, and then you're like, wow. That to me, that was like, wow. So I say all that to say this. I see that you are doing, I feel like you're doing the same thing for kids who may have never thought about putting their hands in the dirt, or think, because they come from not North Philly, Mount Airy, or Atlantic City, putting your hands in the dirt is a little bit overrated experience until you have an opportunity to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely agree. You asked about my interest in it, and we talked about my Philly background. When I was 7 or 8 years old, 9 years old, the people who lived next door moved out, and
Right.
a new family came in from South Carolina. I don't know how that intersects with my life at all. We're Northerners.
You from South Carolina, you walk barefoot in the dirt.
So Mr. Baxter, he had a moving company, A. Baxter and Sons, and he
Okay.
moved into the house next door with all of his sons and all their families. There must have been 20 people in that house.
Right.
Mr. Baxter was 80 years old and still running his company, still going out every day to move furniture. Big
Right,
blue
right.
moving trucks, vans with his sons. Who
Right.
were, big guys. That's what they did.
Right.
And two of those sons, Baxter boys, became politicians and in Philadelphia and well known, well respected. And I knew them as a child. Mr. Baxter was a trip, and he took that little plot of land behind our house on Johnson Street. His was next door, and he transformed it into a vibrant garden. My younger brother and I used to go sit out there and talk to him and watch him do this. He taught us how to do it. We also
Right.
actually worked for him for free, so we were
Right.
carrying bags of manure down there without getting paid a penny. But we loved it, and we were growing our own watermelons, our own corn, and all that. So that's another part of my story.
right.
That as I got to a teenager, and that was in the late '60s. So I'm a child of the '60s.
And you know what makes teachers special? I'm sorry for
Yeah, go
cutting
ahead,
you
go
off, but I really enjoy discussing education.
Yes.
And what I strive to do when I teach poetry and creative writing, a teacher whose excitement overflows and extends itself to the kids, and you bring them in and get them excited about what you're doing. It's really a win-win-win. And again, well, for me, I also give them agency to say, you can say you don't like this, but for the next 20 minutes, we're gonna have as much fun as we can have, creating X, Y, Z.
That's my teaching style. So I'm one of those fun teachers, kind of crazy, certainly knowledgeable, and I like that approach. I'm that way with the staff of Coastal Cousins. I'm accessible. I listen. It's a group and collaborative effort at this point, and I want to hear, and I also want to prepare the way for those who are coming up and want to do this work to take over from me and move it into the next 20 years.
I hear you.
So yeah, I think that being engaging as a student, given that latitude, you just said, okay, you may not want to do this, but we got to get it done. So listen, let's find a different way to get you tuned in here.
And shout out to the teachers who weren't like that too, because I've had the John Houston teachers like that. Today we're going to study
Yeah,
verbs.
that's
Open your book to page 33. Raymond, would you read the first paragraph?
yeah, that's
I've had that
it's not the most
teacher too.
engaging kind of teaching, but all teachers need a big shout out, I think.
They do, because,
very
you know, it's when you get on the other side you
Yeah.
realize what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and it's challenging.
It's challenging.
particularly today. So at any rate, you know, that brings us to Coastal Cousins, and I mentioned all these South Carolina references. Miss Jackson up in New York, who was from South Carolina, Mr. Baxter and his
Mr.
family
Baxter.
were South Carolina. One of my best friends is a descendant of forced laborers who worked on a plantation in South Carolina,
Okay.
slaves. And he's a docent now at that same place, which is now
Okay.
a foundation. So
Okay.
Middleton Place Foundation was a plantation that Ty Collins, who helped me develop this whole concept through what's called the Ashe Seed Exchange, the African Heritage Seed Exchange
Okay.
Program.
Poetry and gardening and dissecting.
Yeah, there we go. See that? We got all of it.
Ashe.
Ashe. So in 2019, Ty and I, you know, talked all the time. We're friends from way back in the day when we were both working in Philly as adults, and he retired and moved down there to do that work within that community. He said, "Well, you know, we're doing this thing with the African Heritage Seeds. There are 5 seeds, plants that our forebears brought with them in their hair, braided in their hair, or hidden or stitched in whatever clothing they had when they were abducted and brought to the Americas, Barbados first, and then South Carolina. And those are collard greens, yams, okra, Sea Island red peas, and
You get me hungry now.
I can't remember the 5th. But, and that was this. I'll stop talking for a minute and just show you. So that's the Ashe program and what it was about.
Okay, it says African Heritage Seed Exchange, expanding the legacy of crop seeds whose ancestry dates back to the beginnings of the slave trade routes from West Africa to the New World.
Yes. So, Coastal Cousins Heritage Gardens was built on that premise and with those seeds right there at Our Lady Star of the Sea with my 6th graders at that point in 2019. And again, we planted those in the beginning of March
It's almost 10 years ago.
2020, yeah, and 5 years ago, and in 2020, and then the school closed on March 20th of 2020 because of COVID. So
Okay.
we've kept it alive, and I think it's a natural segue to I Am, but I'll get there when you're ready to
Sure,
broach the subject.
sure. Listen, I just want, this is your first time here.
It is. I'm happy
I
to be
just
here.
wanted to get some background information. Trust me, it's a good thing when I want to find out more about who you are
Okay.
as a person, as opposed to just talking about the festival.
Understood.
I'm a professional, believe me, believe it or not. I could talk about the festival for an hour, but I think there may be somebody who is listening, and let's say they don't even want to do a community garden.
Correct.
Let's say they don't want to be a radio station DJ. Let's say they don't want to be a poet. Let's say they might want to work on model trains. Again, that's something that you see a lot of in Atlantic City or Philadelphia, but because of our conversation, hopefully they're thinking to themselves, well, if Mr. Freeland can start a community garden, and if Mr. Ray can become a poet, then why can't I, do what I want to do with model trains?
That's correct.
And so, that's why I have these conversations, because I'm hoping that somebody will hear us talking and be encouraged to step up and do what they feel. And then, of course, I'm hoping somebody is listening and saying, you know what, I always wanted to garden, and I never knew that there was a group I could be a part of, or I never knew there was a way in, And so I'm thankful for this show because hopefully at one point Ray will ask Greg Freeland how to get in contact with him
We're gonna give you all that
before the
information.
show's over.
And let
But
everybody know how to get in touch with us. But
with that being said, I'm just explaining to you why I went that way because I felt like your story was interesting and would bless some people.
thank you so much, and I appreciate that.
So let's talk about November 1st and let's talk about the I Am Harvest Festival. What is it and why not the I Sweet Potato Harvest Festival?
Well, again, you just read the legend that was the origins of Coastal Cousins Heritage.
Oh, because
Gardens.
sweet potatoes didn't come over
They did.
from Africa?
No, sweet potatoes are indigenous to the Americas.
Ah, okay, all right. So
And yams, so that's the differentiation. And there's
one is African, one is
However,
American.
If you come out to the I Am Festival, you're going to have a chance to taste the difference because some of our culinary artists are going to be presenting their take on how to present yams, and some are doing sweet potato dishes from their family origins. So that's going to be a part of it, and we'll get to that in a second. But let me just go back. So yeah,
Okay.
yams was one of the original vegetable items, food pathway items, transported from Africa to the Americas through the slave trade. And certainly the slave trade economy is the economy on which America's economy was built. There's no question about that. And so we need to recognize that. Gardening is hard, right? And farming is hard. But without farmers, there's no food.
Right.
And then
Starving is
where
hard.
are we? And the harder it is for farmers, all farmers, from no matter where they came from, if they're African heritage, if they're European heritage, Asian, doesn't matter. There are no farmers. People are not going to eat the same way, and certainly not healthily. So the gardening aspect in an urban setting is the idea is to reconnect people with that past, looking toward the future. Mm-hmm. So if I know that my grandchild just put seed in the ground and grew an apple tree, that's like amazing, right? And my child now, my 5-year-old, is super interested in this kind of work. If I'm working with 100, 150 children every year, and 5 to 7% of them at some point in their lives are right now, I know what I want to do with my life, then that's a big win.
Yes.
And we need our young people, particularly our urban young people, particularly in Atlantic City or coastal regions,
Right.
the threat of rising sea levels, all this climate change and so forth. We
Yes.
need young people to start leaning into the science and technology and math of perhaps being a bioengineer, a biodiversity person,
Right.
a climate change scientist.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to stir.
Right.
But you know, if I have grandparents picking up their grandchildren at the end of our programs, and they're just in these discussions, and it's good. That's what I envision when